I am really excited about doing this. I'll tell you why. As most of you know, I did so much research, and I took all the statements and I separated them, the statements from the police files, and I researched them and put them into tables and files and everything, and came up with recognizing that there were so many contradictions that started on the Tuesday morning. And it didn't just start on Tuesday morning. I mean, it carried on throughout Tuesday daytime, Wednesday, and into Thursday. And we've dealt with those on the previous shows. So where I was at that time was, if something had happened to her, what day did something happen? And I thought, well, the only way I can find out is maybe try and find proof of the last person that saw her. And that's when I started to realize that although there was nothing to say she wasn't seen, what I found was there wasn't anything to prove that she was seen. And that is really important, because if you think, okay, discrepancies started Thursday morning, why? I mean, serious discrepancies that they were contradicting each other. I mean, it was supposedly a normal holiday. Why would there be such contradictions about anything right through the week? And then, as I discovered, I couldn't find anything, not one statement throughout the week back from Sunday that actually proved to me that I could look at and say, yep, they saw her. They were mistaken. There were so many things about it. And that's when I took it back each day. I didn't plan on it. I had no idea when I was going to find the statement that proved to me that she was seen. I didn't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't decide something and try and make it fit. The files tell me. And as it was, and you'll see that there was only one statement in that whole week that actually told me that she was seen on the Sunday. Now, they were there from Saturday till Thursday. The only statement that I found credible was the Sunday. And anyway, Maureen's going to start a video which was done by Richard D. Hall. He featured me in one of his videos. Now, another thing I want to tell you about this and why I'm so excited is, okay, I'll tell you.
Within the past few months, a British expat living and working in Canada, Lizzie Taylor, known on the internet as Heidi Ho, has compiled a very useful analysis of all the other claimed sightings of Madeline that week. Here are some extracts from her article. Relevant witness statements. Like everyone else, I once believed that Madeline was seen during the holidays, as there were so many people that claimed to have seen her. As I started to collate the witness statements and scrutinise each one, I realised that apart from Fatima de Silva, who saw Madeline and the family outside the apartment one day, there was not one statement that had a similar degree of credibility. I thought the possibility of something happening to Madeline prior to Thursday would be impossible, but after reading all the statements, every one, except Fatima, allows for doubt. Some were very obviously mistaken. She then goes on to list other witness statements from people I have not mentioned so far. Here is Lizzie Taylor's list and her comments. Cecilia Diaz-Firmino, receptionist at Millennium, described a shy Madeline and saw them on days they were not at restaurant. Therefore, not proof that she saw Madeline. She may have seen one of the other tapas children. Geronimo Salcedes, tapas barman, admits to not being able to recognise if it was Madeline. Luisa Ana de Nona de Azevedo Coutinho, receptionist, claims to have seen Madeline with McCann's friend Dr. Russell O'Brien, but his daughter was not in the creche that morning and looks very similar to Madeline, so likely mistaken. Georgina Jackson, tennis instructor, was non-specific about seeing Madeline, only that she was part of the group for that morning. Charlotte Pennington, creche nanny. We've already covered Charlotte Pennington earlier in the film. Diaz Romao claimed seeing Madeline at times she was not there, according to the creche record. Emma Wilding did not know Madeline well and makes incorrect statement about seeing Jerry. Paula Cristina de Costa Vieira, cleaner, says she saw Madeline McCann twice leaving the Millennium at about 9:30 to 10 a.m, but they didn't go to the Millennium for breakfast. Non-specific comments that do not confirm Madeline's presence were made by Jez Wilkins, Stephen Carpenter, and Daniel Stuck. So what about that one statement that Lizzie Taylor thinks may be credible, one by Fatima Maria Serafim de Silva Espada, the daughter of one of the cleaners? She says that she saw the McCanns and their 3 children. Let's look at the relevant extract from her statement, and let's note that this particular alleged sighting took place on the Sunday, and see what a tremendous amount of specific detail she gives to the police as she unfolds what she saw. She states that this took place on Sunday the 29th of April, just before she finished her morning shift at 13:30, as she had the afternoon off that day. At about 13:15, she went to help her mother, who was cleaning apartment 5I of the same block, situated on the first floor. She clearly remembers.
Hello, Maureen?
Observing their movements for a few moments because she was charmed by them. Madeline led the way with a plate, perhaps plastic, in her hand, bearing a piece of bread. As regards the clothes she was wearing, she only remembers a skirt but cannot recall its description. She noted, because she thought them nice, the type of shoes she was wearing. Tennis shoes, light in colour, she thinks, which had little lights along the soles, which lit up each time she stepped on the ground. Her siblings followed behind her, wearing the same kind of shoes, and each holding a piece of bread in their hands. Their mother followed behind them without holding their hands. She seemed to remember the mother was also carrying a plate. Moments afterwards, perhaps the time it took to close the apartment door, the father came out and also headed to the apartment upstairs. When asked, she does not remember whether the father pulled the door closed or locked it with a key. So here we have a statement which I suggest clearly is credible. It is not vague, it does not look contrived. Moreover, she sees all 5 members of the family together, and after that, I would contend that no one ever sees all 3 children together that week. What about her shoes? Unfortunately, we do not see these in the last photo, so we don't know if they are the same ones as this cleaner describes. However, we do have the photos taken what I think was the day before, and on this one, the playground picture, we can see that Madeline is indeed wearing exactly the same shoes as described by the cleaner. In the last photo, Madeline is wearing a pink dress. The cleaner remembers Madeline wearing a skirt, she thinks, but can't remember what colour it was. It's easy to confuse a dress with a skirt. This incident happens at about 1:15 p.m. on the Sunday. Is it possible that Madeline was already in the clothes in which she is seen in the last photo? I think it is. So, in the statement of Luisa Ana Coutinho, we have a detailed, wholly credible statement that is also fully consistent with the last photo having been taken about an hour later by the pool, after lunch on the Sunday. The clarity and detail of this witness statement shows up the other statements from the Ocean Club staff for what they are: vague statements with no detail and therefore lacking credibility.
Okay, thanks, Maureen. As you can tell from that, that's the basics of what I wanted to discuss today. Before I do, I want to tell you the reason I'm so excited about doing this is that although the information I'm using is new. It's all from the files. But I don't know of anybody else who has put this together in the way I have. And I don't know of anybody else, which we'll get into later, that even if they claim something happened to Madeline early in the week, how do they explain the crash, her being seen in the crash? It was only about 2 years ago that I suddenly had a light bulb moment and realized how that could have been accomplished. But we'll get to that. But what I'm trying to say is I have all this information and lots more, obviously. And I'll tell you something, I was so concerned that nobody would ever hear it. You know, I thought, okay, I've done posts, but you know, you don't get the overall picture in a post. So this is my one opportunity to go down in time so that if anything was to happen to me, I thought, who would know it? You know, so that's why I'm so excited. So where we start on this is looking at just what Richard was explaining there, that I went through every single statement that was relative to whether Madeline was seen during the week. And if you can start with the first graphic, Maureen. Now this, you obviously won't be able to read it, but it's 29 witnesses that claimed to have seen Madeline. But the point is that there is not one in there, apart from Fatima, that actually is detailed enough to convince me that it was so. And so if we can start looking at some of them, that would be great, Maureen. The next one. So first of all, we have Catriona. Catriona was Madeline's nanny in the creche. The creche was over the reception, and it shared a room with the two lobsters and sharks. They both shared the same room. Catriona, excuse me, I've got to get my specs on here. She, in her first statements, she was pretty much non-specific about it being Madeline. And she says she's unable to specify if she was present on the Sunday morning. Now, one thing I did notice later, that on the Sunday morning, it was Madeline was supposedly there, but Russell O'Brien and Jane Tanner's daughter was not there. Now, that might not mean anything right now, but if you start to see that it was very possible that the nannies were thinking, and I'll explain a lot more later, that it was possible that it was Jane Tanner and Russell O'Brien's daughter that they were seeing and mixing up with Madeline. If you look, I don't know if you can see it properly, but where it says two different children, they both have similar color hair. They were 3 months apart in age. And if you think about it, that is in a creche that's really just a babysitting. It wasn't like a proper nursery where everybody was booked in and booked out. They did do the booking in and out, but I think that was more just generally jot down. Sometimes it wasn't put on. So I've written at the bottom, if Maddie only attended creche for the first day or so in a room with other little blonde girls, it's possible that they weren't all known by name, which is common in nurseries, even when children are there, and that Catriona did not specifically remember her from that first day. So number 2, please, Maureen. Yeah, there was too many questions about Catriona's statements to consider reliable proof that Maddie was at the crash until Thursday. Now, I want to make it clear, I absolutely do not claim that Catriona had anything to do with anything. She was a young girl that was a nanny doing her job, and sadly she ended up in a situation that put her in the limelight, and I don't think she deserved it, and I hope nobody lays any blame on Catriona for anything. Okay, upon hearing about the disappearance, Catriona was told that Maddie was in her group. Keeping in mind, it was believed to be an abduction from the apartment, and the crash was not of importance. So at the time of the abduction, Catriona would have no idea that there was anything to do with her being in the crash was of importance. So could any one of these scenarios be applicable to Catriona? She couldn't specifically remember Maddie based on the release photo, but second-guessed herself that she must have mistaken one of the other children and could in no way jeopardize her credibility in her job by saying that she didn't remember who was Maddie. And I think what I mean by that is that she was looking after lots of children. There was 14 in the group, but, you know, even just the ones, including Jane Tanner's daughter, who was very similar. And did they really honestly know each child by name? I think most people who send their children to nursery, at least at the beginning, nobody really remembers names specifically. All the children kind of meld together. But what did happen was when she was given her statements, the police had raised doubts. They allowed her to refresh her memory by reading the translated version of the original. And that was questionable. I think that she couldn't specifically remember which one was Maddie, but she was told Maddie was there. And I mean, she wasn't going to jeopardize her job by saying, oh, I don't know which one she was. I can't remember her specifically. And yeah, I think that was just unfortunate. Now, I think she was reminded about the details when she visited the McCanns in November. There was a secret Rothley meeting, and it seems odd that the McCanns would invite her at the same time, 24th of November, to this secret Rothley meeting. So they obviously had a plan in place. This wasn't just a general, oh, hi, Catriona, how are you? And there are some pictures of her being photographed on the 25th, which was the day of the meeting, I think. So anyway, that lays that whatever Catriona says so far is questionable. There's nothing specific about her knowing that the child she thought was Madeline actually was. Could it have been another child? Very possibly. So next one, please, Maureen. Now, this is an important one that a lot of people aren't aware. They just presume, and to be honest, even the Portuguese police have claimed that she was seen at 5:30 at high tea. But she doesn't, in the statements that we have seen, she does not claim to have seen Maddie at high tea. She, in her early statement, which is the one that is more liable to be fresh in her memory, I also remember that Kate was present for high tea, accompanied by the twins between 5 and 5:30. Now, that's odd. Why didn't she say Madeline? And if you recall from the discrepancies a couple of weeks ago, she also claimed that Jerry claimed that he was the one that was there. Kate wasn't there until 5:30 because she was jogging, and Jerry was there, but Catriona said, excuse me, Jerry was playing tennis. All up the creek, sorry. So in a rogatory statement, this is after she's been to roughly, she said that Kate went to get Madeline from the tapas bar area. And according to what I remember, she was wearing sporting clothes. And I assumed that she was practicing some form of athletics. It was around, says 15:25, but I think that means 5:25. I think Jerry was playing tennis. Now, that's kind of odd. She doesn't specifically mention seeing Madeline at high tea or specifically that they left at 5:30, and there was no mention of seeing Maddie. Now, I think that might surprise some people. I searched and searched through her statements. I could not find anything. So there again, the nanny that was supposed to have looked after her all week does not specifically say anything about this was Maddie because, oh, she was like this and she was like that, as we'll see later about her personality. So Catriona is off my list of having confirmation that Maddie was there. So can I see the next one? And we'll go through these fairly quickly. Well, maybe very quickly. Emma Wilding was also another nanny, and she's not sure whether during the morning of Madeline's group that they had outdoor activities, mainly at the pool. She does remember that around 12:30, Madeline's father went to fetch her for lunch. But I believe in that case, it was actually, when you look at the creche records, it was the mother. It's too little for me to actually read out, too long. But basically, there was nothing in her statement that told me that she was very specific it was Madeline. So next one, please, Maureen. Charlotte Pennington, she's another one. It's hard to explain. Her credibility is questionable, but I'm sure she's a lovely girl. I'm not going against that, but I think she wanted to be an actress, a fairy or something. I can't remember. But when it came to her statement, she did contradict the facts. I think she claimed that she went into the room after the abduction, when in actual fact she didn't. She does say that on 2 different days, Sunday, the 29th of April, and on Thursday, the 3rd of May, she had direct contact with Madeleine McCann, telling her stories and speaking to her. Well, on Sunday morning, Charlotte Pennington looked after the babies, which were actually in a room in the mini club, but this was her first morning. So why and how could she leave the babies alone and go and sit and read a book, I think it was, with Madeline? Yeah, telling her stories. So that was not credible. And I think Charlotte kind of wanted to be known. We won't go further than that. Okay, next one. Lynn, Rhiannon, Fretta. And these next ones are basically the nannies. I went through every nanny statement to see whether or not they saw Madeline. And she had only one brief contact, a few seconds. That is not anything I would consider proof that she saw Madeline. So next one. These will be fairly quick, Maureen. Lindsay Johnson. She had several contacts with a girl called Madeline, although she says they were formal and short. So had it been Madeline, had it been another little girl, she probably wouldn't. It's not confirmation to me. Next one. Kirsty Louise Marianne. She only on one occasion had contact with Madeline for about 30 minutes, who was treated as Maddie. From what she saw, she was a child who did stick out precisely because she was calmer and shyer than the others. Now, you will find out from a list of personality traits that I did of Madeline, and I think most of you already know, Madeline was known to be loud and in the middle of everything. So when a child is described as calmer and shyer than others, it makes you wonder, was that really Madeline? You will also find out a little bit later that Jane Tanner claims that her daughter, who looked very similar to Madeline, was very shy and timid, and Madeline was outgoing and gregarious or whatever. So that makes you wonder, is the child she thought was Madeline calmer and shyer? Sounds like she might have had the wrong child. She said she did not have direct contact and was not aware of her habits. So no direct contact, not proof to me that it was Madeline that she saw. Next one. Sarah Elizabeth Williamson. She did not have direct contact with Madeline's group, as she was responsible for the twins group, and she has no knowledge of the girl or the parents' habit. So no contact. Next one. Amy Ellen Tierney. I think Amy was in charge of Catriona and Emma, but she claims Madeline was timid. Does that sound like Madeline to you? But very intelligent and would play with the older children. Also knows Madeline's parents, although it is the father who would normally pick up from the club. Now note that Jerry McCann only picked up Madeline on Sunday, Monday and Tuesday mornings 3 times. And afternoons and Wednesdays and Thursdays, it was Kate. So it doesn't really fit that he would normally pick them up. It was both of them, or maybe Kate more so. Next one. Leanne Diane Wagstaff. She said that she saw Madeline once during the week. She didn't know her. She had no direct contact. So that's not one that tells me that she actually saw Madeline, or proof that she saw Madeline. Next one. Stacey Ports. She also knew Madeline, as she would frequently come talk to her brother and sister when picked up by her parents. Now, if you note, because Stacey was looking after the twins at some point in their crash, which was actually in the Ocean Club, whereas Madeline's kids club was over by reception 10 minutes away. If this is in reference to lunchtime pickup as opposed to high tea, because at high tea it's a totally different area to the crash, it could only have been Monday and Thursday that Madeline was signed out before the twins. So how could she be there to pick them up if she was still in the crash? She was only signed out before the twins on those 2 days. So was it really Madeline that they saw? So could she have been mistaken? No proof that she actually saw Madeline. Next one, please. Susan Bernadette Owen. She came into contact on some occasions with a child known as Madeline McCann. The contact was formal and of short duration. She did not have direct contact with the minor, another one that we can pass off. So next one, please, Maureen. And thanks for getting these all in order, Maureen. It really helps. And Sinead, yeah, okay. Sinead only saw Madeline once when she arrived during the week. So, no, I'm sorry, that's not proof that she actually saw Madeline. Not saying she didn't, but the point of this is I want to show you that I could not find proof of anybody seeing Madeline after Sunday. So if we can maybe go through, try and do it quicker on the next ones, I'll try and be quicker. I'll just read out the red bits. So next one, please, Maureen. Oh, okay. There's a lot of red bits there. Now here's the receptionist at the Millennium. And I actually wanted Isabel McFadden to be on with us today because she actually did speak to Cecilia. And it's actually it's very interesting to me because it took me some time to actually find out exactly what may have happened. And hang on, I have to get closer here. Now, she said she didn't come to breakfast. She was a bit worried about, oh, this is Jane Tanner, sorry. She didn't come to breakfast. She was a bit worried about Madeline, how Madeline and her daughter would get on, because her daughter was quite shy and I can't read it. Anyway, sensitive.
Sensitive.
Yeah. And as I say, Ella in her nature is a bit more, quiet and a bit more probably reserved. Hangs back with what was going on. Well, Cecilia claims that this child, and apparently Madeline didn't go to breakfast, but the child she saw at breakfast was what she claimed was Madeline, and she claimed that she appeared to be very attached to her father and was always clinging to him. Well, that's very odd because I found a statement from Russell O'Brien that says she's always kind of holding on a leg for a little while, and I think Madeline maybe not as shy as Ella. And another bit I can't read. But basically, Cecilia is describing a child as shy and timid. And I think we all know that Madeline was not shy and timid. But then when I found the statement which goes along with Cecilia claiming she was always clinging on to him, and that's exactly what Russell O'Brien's daughter did to him, always clinging on to his leg. That told me a lot. And Jane Tanner claimed that Maddie did not go to breakfast. They were similar in appearance, but with different personalities. Is it possible that the Ocean Club staff remember the shy tapas child and not Maddie? Makes you think, and I hope it does make you think. Okay, next one, please, Maureen. Georgina Jackson. Now, I hang on to Tuesday as being the last time that she was confirmed to have been seen, because Georgina Jackson was the tennis coach, and although they didn't play tennis, they were 3 and 4. The group of them used to go down and pretend, I guess. So when I knew that Georgina Jackson had claimed to have seen her, I stuck at Tuesday being the day she disappeared because of that. Then I went back to her statement and I read what it said, and she relates it was one of the preferred activities of the McCann couple, in that they had several lessons throughout the days, and up to the date of the disappearance of their daughter, Madeline, it was being that the child also had a class on Tuesday the 1st of May, with the times 10 to 11, in which she was among a group of children. Now, it seems to me that she was reading her blogs, maybe, and the lobster group was having tennis. It doesn't say that she saw Madeline, and there's really no you can't get around that. Really, how would she know all their names if she had, let's say, 7 children? I've forgotten how many it was. Would she really know all their names in half an hour? She would just know that, okay, you're telling me that Madeline was in the lobsters. Well, I had the lobster group for half an hour on Tuesday. She probably wouldn't know. But anyway, regardless, it's not proof to me that she actually saw Madeline. So next one. Geronimo Thomas Rodriguez Salcedas. I can't say it as good as Richard Hall. Now, he said, in spite of having already observed many photos of Madeline, he claims that he could not state with any certainty that he'd seen her at any moment. The same goes for whom he now knows to be her twin siblings. Now, he also stated that since Madeline's disappearance, I have seen her picture many times in the media, but I cannot honestly affirm that I remember seeing her in person before the disappearance from the Ocean Club. There were many children, and I never paid much attention to any of them. So you can see, I mean, I'm getting, this is 16, 18, whatever it is, and we're not, please correct me if you disagree with me, but are we seeing any member of staff or anybody that actually is confirmed to have seen Madeline? Next one, please, Maureen. There's another one in between, but it's the same thing. Louise, the receptionist. Here was a receptionist, and Russell O'Brien claimed that he went to see her, and she says that he was carrying a girl, and she believed it to be Madeline. When questioned, she confirms that the man was not the father of the girl, but one of the members of the group who was often seen in his company. Now, for one, why would he be carrying Madeline and not his own daughter? Madeline was actually in the creche at that time, and his daughter Ella wasn't, because she was off because of her foot, I believe. So it was more than likely the fact that he was carrying his daughter, and she just thought it looked like Madeline. Another one who was mistaken, likely. So his daughter was not in the creche, Madeline was. So it's more than likely his daughter that he was carrying, and she claimed it was Madeline. Next one, please. The Millennium Cleaner claims to have seen the family between 9:30 and 10. But in actual fact, the McCann family were not in the Millennium at the time they were seen. It's very possible that she saw Russell and his daughter, so was likely mistaken. So it doesn't mean Madeline wasn't seen, it just means that there's no proof so far, and I hope you all agree with me that she was. Next one, please, Maureen. Oh, maybe we've had that one, maybe we haven't, but it's a similar kind of thing. There was no, you can check all these out, there was no proof. Next one. Nice and easy to read. All he's saying is Madeline participated in a group of children's lessons. He didn't actually take the lessons. No way for him to have known if it was really Madeline or if it was mistaken for another child. I'm not saying, I hope nobody's thinking that I'm claiming there was a, oh, what's the word for another child used? I can't remember the word, but no, this was not done specifically. This was just that people were mistaken, that's all. Next one, please. Sandra Martinera. Regarding the missing child, the witness believes that she may have seen her walking with one of the nannies. However, there are many families with children. It's normal to see the children with their nannies carrying out their activities. Again, no proof she saw Madeline. Next one. Alice Stanley and Chris Unsworth. They actually took the children sailing on the morning that Madeline disappeared, supposedly. We know from the statements that Jane's daughter was there, and Jane supposedly took pictures of her daughter. And Catriona claims that Madeline was in this group and she was scared. Can't remember her exact words, but she was basically describing another child. She was basically describing a shy child. So there was no formal statement, which to me is very odd, because if they were out sailing with them on the last day that Madeline was seen, you'd think that their statements would be important enough to make a formal statement, but nope. And maybe it's because the police realized that Madeline wasn't there anyway. So that's my thoughts. I don't know if I'm right on that. Next one. Jeremy Wilkins. Now, he was a friend that Jerry used to play tennis with. He was the chap that Jerry met on the way back on the night of the disappearance and stood chatting to him outside of the apartment block. But anyway, after the game, we walked together with a third male called Russell, or Matt, he couldn't remember, to pick the children up from the mini club. We would take them there at 9 until 12:30. I realized that Jerry had 3 children, a girl called Madeline and 2 twins who were about 2 years of age. Madeline was about 3. This club would take 3s to 5-year-olds. The club was split into 2, the Sharks and the Lobsters, and my son was in the Sharks group. I believe that Madeline was in the Lobsters. I don't recall seeing the family again today. Now, both Sharks and Lobsters were all in the same room. They just had different nannies watching over them. But they probably played together. I don't know. But there was nothing in that to say that he specifically saw Madeline. So next one. We're nearly there. This is important to me, and I hope you don't mind me going through them all individually like this, because the whole point of what I'm saying is that I want to show everybody the proof of what I claim. I could, in a few sentences, say to you, well, I couldn't find anything in the statements that mentioned Madeline was seen. Now, you'd have to trust me, and a lot of people wouldn't trust that. But I desperately needed to show you all of these as long as it's taking, so that you fully can see why I came to the conclusion that the only statement that was credible to me was Sunday with Fatima. So I hope you understand. We're nearly there. So Stephen Carpenter, oh yes, not from there. It was even before Madeline disappeared. Did you see them with Madeline and the other 2 children? I don't remember what I said in the statement. I'm not sure about this, because when I think about the past, and I know that he was playing tennis, and I imagine something different, I can't specify hours and dates. But if you can remember the occasion in which you saw them, how were the children's behavior? I can't reply because I was not concentrating on this type of thing. That's why I can't even reply to this. 5 months during the holiday, you met the following persons. Jerry and Kate McCann, saw their children, Madeline and the twins, but don't know their name. I remember talking to Jerry because I had to go and fetch his son, Stephen Carpenter's son, and they were playing in the small garden, and he was whatever, and I thought it was Maddie. I was not absolutely sure, but he seemed to be the decent bloke or whatever. And anyway, that does not confirm he saw Madeline. So nearly there. Next one, please, Maureen. Bridget O'Donnell. She's another one, a Mills and Boone type of person that did a blog for The Guardian. And I think she named it My Month with Madeline or something like that. But anyway, she talks about the tennis that she watched, supposedly Madeline. Earlier that day, there'd been a tennis lesson for the children, with some of the parents watching proudly as their girls ran across the court, chasing tennis balls. They took photos. Madeline must have been there, but I couldn't distinguish her from the others. They all looked the same, all blonde, all pink and pretty. No confirmation that she saw Madeline. Next one, please. Now here is a really interesting one. And this is proof to me that there was another child that was very similar to Madeline and could have easily been been taken for Madeline. Now he was the owner of the Paraiso bar. And on the last day, when supposedly Jerry was at the high tea with Madeline and the twins, and Kate was busy jogging along the beach, going to see them at high tea, the rest of the Tapa 7 went to the beach and to the Paraiso restaurant, where there is CCTV of them being there. Proof that they were there, proof that Madeline wasn't there. And yet, Miguel Matias, he claims that he saw Kate and Jerry and their children and their holiday friends, and that the father was dancing with his daughter. Mr. Matias' evidence confirms Madeline was alive and well at 6 o'clock when the family left the restaurant. Previously, 2:29 has been the latest time known to the general public, which is when the last photo was taken, supposedly. When a photograph of her at the pool. Now even when challenged, he told them, no, it was Madeline, but it wasn't, because the CCTV footage proves they weren't there, and this is where he likely saw Russell O'Brien dancing with his daughter and took it to be Jerry. And that's a prime example of how easy and how he really believed it was Madeline, and it wasn't. Okay, so she was mistaken. That was not. And you've already seen Richard D. Hall explain about Fatima, about seeing her just on Sunday afternoon. The cleaner came along and she followed them up the stairs, and in actual fact her mother was cleaning the room next to David Payne's room, so she could actually see them or hear them over the balcony that day, which was Sunday. And I've added some photos there. So that's the only credible witness that I have. So what does that tell you? Is there anybody that disputes any of those? As hard and as maybe boring as it is to go through them, it was so important for me to show you every single one so that there is no dispute as to why I believe Fatima's was the only credible. If there is a dispute, please let me know. But I hope you can understand that because of that, I absolutely, along with the discrepancies starting Tuesday morning, I absolutely believe that something probably happened to Madeline before Tuesday morning, and that I cannot find anything to show that she was proven to be seen since then. So if we can maybe just carry on a bit. Next one, please, Maureen. Oh, here's another one. I mean, they're not even credible. They claim to have been playing down a water slide with Madeline, his son, the Boyds. So another one who claims to have seen Madeline, but not even slightly credible. It was just they wanted to get their name in the news, I guess. Next one, please. Now, this I actually wanted to address at the end, but I'm going to address it right now because it happens to be up there. There's never been any mention. The files were released in July, August of 2008. Since then, we know nothing. We know nothing of any further investigation that happened after that. So if anything has changed within the investigation, we wouldn't know. Now, Hernani, oh, I'm sorry, I've forgotten his other name. Anyway, it's Hernani, and you've seen him on videos alongside, in interviews alongside Gonzalo Amaral. So in my opinion, he's likely a very credible chap. I think this kind of information is important to retain. It's not necessarily proof of anything. And as you know, I like proof, but I think it's important to retain this possibility that Gonzalo Amaral, oh, okay, I'll start at the top, was new information received after Gonzalo Amaral removal to suggest that the original details may not be reliable. Gonzalo Amaral investigation was interrupted after 5 months of a 14-month investigation. At the point of his removal, the last time Maddie was seen was based on Catriona Baker last seeing her at 5:30. Well, as you know, I couldn't find anything to say that she saw her at 5:30. Now, keep in mind, there is a whole investigation that isn't included in the files. So we don't know the formal and informal statements that they had with her. But as far as the files go, there is nothing to say that she actually saw her at 5:30. Months later, there were questions about whether her statements were reliable, as well as important new evidence regarding the text messages received by Jerry McCann on the Wednesday. Now, there's the issue too, is the text messages that the police were saw so much importance in those. I don't believe that there might be another name for it, but let's just call it Supreme Court, to try and retrieve those text messages. Now, what does that tell you? That was the Wednesday. If they actually only believe that something happened on Thursday night, where were they checking into his messages from Wednesday? And it was that important that they had to apply to a Supreme Court. I absolutely believe they thought something was happening, at least on the Wednesday morning when he started getting those text messages. And that makes you think that that happened. Well, they tried to do it before the files were released, and unfortunately they were turned down. But yeah, they knew that Jerry was up to something on the Wednesday morning, because he started receiving them at about 8 o'clock, I think, in the morning. So that's added to information. Well, this is the same thing. Information that was so important that the public prosecutor applied to the court to have the content revealed for the investigation a month prior to the shelving. So yeah, I absolutely believe that the police are questioning what happened, because otherwise, why would they be checking and go to court for something that happened on the Wednesday? Another, as I was just saying before I carried on there, that Hernani Cavallo, a friend of or appears to be a friend of Gonzalo Amaral, also fairly credible. He does state the disappearance took place during the time period between 5:35 and 10:05 on the 3rd of May 2007, reads the report from the 4th Brigade of the PJ in Portugal, Portimao. He says it's a premise that is now questioned. So it does appear to me, although there's nothing proven, the PJ have questioned whether something actually happened that night. Now, are they finding the information that I'm discovering and realizing that that may be a possibility that something happened to her early in the week? I believe it's possible. Anyway, I'll be sending this to them anyway, so they will find out from me. So next one, please, Maureen. Oh, that's easier to read, right? Yeah, it's the same thing. It is questioned. There is something that is being questioned, and I believe the police know that there's more to this than there's several other things too, but I think they realize there's more to this than just not the abduction, but something happened before Thursday. I absolutely believe with all my heart that they know something happened before Thursday, but of course they can't tell anybody. You know, that anything they claim in public has to be what is released. They can't say anything that is over and above anything that's in those files. Even if they believe it, they can't say, we think something happened earlier. They have to go with what the witnesses tell them in public. Anyway, next one, please. And here we have an example, which I hope you can see okay. But these 3 little girls were all in the same creche room, along with lots of other little pink and pretty blonde girls. You can see just by looking at them that they'd all look very similar. And how difficult it would be for the nannies to be able to identify every child by name after only a few days. And that's what I'm saying. Is it possible that another child was mistaken for Maddie? Very possible, in my opinion. Next one, please. I threw this in here because there was creche activities which we know supposedly happened. You would think that if Madeline was there, that the parents, even if Catriona or the creche didn't come up with it, they would show some of Madeline's work during the week. Her handprint stars, her salt dough rocket chips, or alien footprints. They're the examples of what they did during the week. Were there any saved? Were there any photographed? Did any of them exist? Makes you think, doesn't it? Okay, next one. And here, and this is where I first started to question. I wanted to figure out how everybody described Madeline. And something hit me when I did this. Again, it's not something I go out to try and make fit, but as I was doing it, I think you can see from here that when I took words of how people in the Ocean Club, the employees, described her: timid, intelligent, active, sociable, obedient, scared, fearful, happy, content, intelligent, timid, discreet, shy, calm, happy, but quiet, attached to her father and was always clinging on to him, very shy. Now, does that really sound like Madeline? This is what all the employees thought of Madeline. Now, what Kate and Jerry tell us, she was extroverted, lively, vivacious, ringleader, funny, sociable, character, McCann personality, loud, extrovert. Next one, please. She could talk, intelligent, engaging, talkative, smart, huge presence. She'd run around screaming and shouting, run up and down screaming in the background, hyperactive, happy. Does this sound like this could be, Madeline could be a child that at any time, even if she'd only just met somebody, do you think she'd be shy and timid? Shy and timid describes Jane and Russell's daughter, not Madeline. Anyway, next one. That was Kate and Jerry's description. The Tapper 7, communicative, happy, obedient, well-behaved, lively, extrovert, full of energy, smart, bright, bubbly, headstrong, full of life. I mean, that's Madeline. That's what I believe everybody believes Madeline is. Next one. Friends and family describe her as active, chatty, intelligent, not shy, personality all of her own, beautiful, astonishingly bright. She could throw a tantrum. And it does say she and the twins were quite shy about meeting new people, but I don't think that applied to anything during the holiday. Outgoing personality, funny, engaging, wonderful, loving and caring, life-enriching little person. Doesn't sound like what the Ocean Club employees were describing. Next one, please, Maureen. And you can see here the I don't know if there's anything missing onto the bottom, but never mind. The Ocean Club staff description is timid, timid, shy, quiet, discreet, calm, clingy, very shy. They describe Madeline that way, when in actual fact she was all of those things that I've described before: extroverted, lively, headstrong, energetic, full of fun. But timid, shy, quiet, discreet, calm, and clingy fits Jane Tanner's daughter. Shy and sensitive, quiet and reserved, hangs back, wouldn't say boo to a goose, holds on to leg. She's similar in appearance, similar in hair color, and only 3 months difference between the two of them, and she went to the same crash. So is it very possible that the child that they believed they saw was Madeline was actually the shy child, which was Jane and Russell's daughter? Okay, next one. I hope you're with me on this. Oh, okay. Now we're coming on to something else. I've got it there as posted 8 years ago, but it was actually years. What I noticed between the Russell O'Brien and the McCanns, that one child would get signed in and one child got signed out, and neither of them had, if one was signed in, they weren't signed out. It was the other child that was signed out, but they were not signed in, if you get what I mean. So I recognized this 8 years ago, and I made a post describing what I'd found, but I never really could explain it. And it was so difficult with the crash records, as everybody knows. It's so difficult to understand those crash records. But I wanted to put this here because it was 10 years ago that I first had a thought that maybe there was only one child going in, that they were named on two different names. One child went in, one child came out. So next one, please, Maureen. And then this, don't need to read it, but this is like a little bit of history for me because, I don't even know the year, but I was making a post in The Complete Mystery of Madeleine McCann, CMOMM. And I was dealing with the crash. And it was at this moment that I was making this post that it suddenly came to me, and this was only a couple of so years ago, that it suddenly occurred to me what was happening and how the McCanns were able to deceive everybody into believing that Madeline was at the crash. So next one, that was my light bulb moment bit of history. Again, you've just seen the top portion of that. And then down the bottom, it's we've also seen that earlier. Is it possible that the OC staff remembered? And I can't read the bottom, but I'm sure you get it. Next one, please, Maureen. Now here we go. We come into the end here. Well, the end of what I've been talking about previously, about Madeline not being seen. Now I'm moving on to something which is one of the most important things that I have done. And this is a crash records details and comparison. And I've mentioned it before that it took me 2 days. I sat doing this, putting it all together. And at the end of it, I thought, oh, darn, why did I just waste those 2 days doing this? What have I achieved? And it didn't look like I achieved anything except making the crash records look nice. So can I have the next one, please, Maureen?